Hey everyone, hi there. Today, we're going to dive into the murky waters of Hollywood, where behind the shine of superhero costumes and brave buff guys, yes, there's a disgusting truth hidden, the things these superheroes actually do in real life. Actor Jeremy Renner, our beloved Hawkeye, well, from the series, he's now been accused of domestic violence and sexual harassment. This is a scandal that has shaken Hollywood. All the major American media outlets have already started writing about it and continue to cover the story. But the most shocking element in this whole story is that this actor, threatened to call ICE agents on his victim. And the victim in this scandal is the Chinese director Yi Zhou, who is essentially his colleague and partner. Marvel star Jeremy Renner is accused of threatening to call ICE on his Chinese film partner from I'm Afraid for My Life. And this is not just a scandal, it's an abuse of power, where the fear of deportation is used as a weapon. The Chinese director Yi Zhou, who is 34 years old, you can see her on the screen, began collaborating with 54-year-old Renner on the documentary film Disney Chronicles. According to her, in June 2025, after receiving unsolicited, explicit photos that the actor sent her via text message, their professional relationship turned romantic. In other words, they started dating. But the idyll ended in a nightmare and scandal at Renner's house, which is located in Nevada. According to the Daily Mail, after drinking a bottle of wine, Renner allegedly went on a 2-hour shouting spree and threatened Zhou. Zhou was so frightened, she genuinely feared for her life while at Renner's house that she sent her location to her parents and to the Disney team she was working with. I had to share my location with my team, my parents, and my colleagues at Disney so they would know where I was in case something happened to me, she explained. I had to lock myself in a room to stay safe and pray that he wouldn't come in at night because he was so angry. I didn't say a word. I was that afraid for my life. But the most cynical part came afterward. When Zhou tried to calmly talk to the actor about his behavior, Jeremy Renner hit her below the belt. Well, as I understand it, he didn't hit her hard, but even so, that blow insulted her even more. And on top of that, he threatened to report her to ICE agents, knowing that she was not a US citizen. When I confidentially told him about his past misconduct and asked him to behave properly, to respect me as a woman and as a director, he threatened to call immigration services, ICE, on me, which deeply shocked and frightened me, she wrote. Friends, this is not just an argument. This is a threat that uses the federal apparatus of coercion through ICE agents. Well, that's certainly one way to present it, yes. And essentially, that's exactly what it is. This is a pure, unadulterated act of intimidation, using the most terrifying weapon an American citizen has against an immigrant, deportation. So he started telling her that they would check how she entered the country, whether she has official grounds to stay in the US. They would check her contract, who she signed it with, whether she has a visa, whether she has a work permit, and so on. He was saying all this to her during that argument, and accordingly intimidating her by threatening to call ICE on her. Can you imagine the result? So, essentially, an actor who is supposed to stand for justice on screen, as we see in real life, uses the fear of deportation to cover up his own personal wrongdoings from the past. Things he doesn't want the American public to find out about, because Zhou said she might reveal all of this and make it public. And accordingly, he of course got angry, and moreover, he was intoxicated and started dumping all of this on her. In this scandal, the legal issue goes beyond personal relationships, and we can see a huge imbalance in this whole story. That is, this actor is, well, he's wealthy, obviously, he's a famous white man, he's a citizen of the United States of America, and his threats to call ICE agents to check on Zhou are perceived by her as a real and immediate danger. And she is a foreign citizen whose stay in the US depends on a visa or a contract or whatever basis she is there on. And for her, ICE is not just a phone call, right? It's a possible future loss of her job, her career, and maybe even her freedom. It's unclear how exactly, but I think in any case she is legally present in the US, but it's possible that her stay could be revoked and so on. Because, as I said before, first of all, he's a celebrity and so on. So the threat of ICE is essentially a racial filter at work in this whole story. By doing this, by threatening to call ICE agents, he's basically telling her, your rights mean nothing because you're a guest. And here in America, I'm the master. And this master threatens the victim by using American law to force the woman to stay silent. Do you understand? In other words, I think this is a moral nonsense and on his part, an immoral act. Well, an act. You simply can't behave like that, especially not towards women. The accusations are not limited to the threat of deportation, and Joe also says that he subjected her to pornographic and psychological abuse, as well as abuse of power in a professional environment. She wrote about this and told American journalists. She also described her story as one of survival in the face of domestic aggression, pornography, workplace abuse, and violence as a woman. I believe Hollywood has no right to remain silent in this scandal when its famous stars use their, let's say, fame and immigration law as a weapon and try to intimidate a foreign citizen through legal means. Why does this story sound so convincing? Because this is not the first incident involving this actor. He has already been involved in scandals before. Previously, Renner's wife accused him of abuse and making threats against her. In other words, he had already threatened her. His ex-wife's name is Sonia Pacheco, and all of this happened during their divorce proceedings. At that time, she accused him of threatening to kill her. However, it's not reported whether he was sober or drunk at the time. This scandal, this whole story, is a test for the American system. Will the law be the same for a Marvel star and for a foreign citizen, for her, for this Joe? And will ICE investigate the abuse of threats of deportation, or will they simply ignore the whole situation and do nothing? But essentially, using immigration fear as a manipulative weapon directed against Joe is, in my opinion, the lowest and most egregious moral fall on the part of this actor. Friends, please write in the comments, do you think celebrities who use threats to call ICE agents should bear harsher legal responsibility? Just like in this story. Please share your opinion in the comments.